Real-time cloud system adopts the periodic method to arrive at the cost of goods sold in the profit and loss statement. This is an example of a company's 12 months profit and loss comparison report. The cost of goods sold is calculated from the opening stock plus the purchases minus the closing stock. In this example here, the closing stock of the first month will become the opening stock of the second month. And the second month's closing stock becomes the third month of the opening stock, and so on and so forth, over the 12 months period. And the last column will be the sum of the 12 months total. And for the opening stock, the system will take the figure from the first month of the new financial period, which is January. And for closing stock, take from the last month of the financial period, which is December. Mathematically, to sum up the whole row here for the closing and opening stock, the net effect is the same. But for financial report presentation purposes, the opening stock and closing stock treatment will be as per presented here. Assuming now you want to prepare your company's monthly profit and loss statement. If your company is newly set up and February 2014 is your first month into the business, notice that the month to date and year to date figure is the same because this is the first month of your business operation. And there will be no opening stocks in the first month. You will need to put through a closing stock as at February 2014. At Accounts Entry, select GL Journal, click Add, enter the header notes, and enter the last day of the month, 28 February. Select the account's closing stock balance sheet and enter the amount. If you are providing bookkeeping services to your client will give you a closing stock value as at 28th of February. If you are using real-time inventory system, you can take the month-end stock closing value from the reports here. Select Reports, select Stock Analysis, click on Stock Closing Value, and enter the relevant closing date. Please refer to the Stock Closing Report training video to learn more about how to prepare the Stock Closing Value report. Click OK. Click to the last page of the Closing Value report. Assuming this figure is correct, print this report into a PDF and keep it as a soft copy, and put through a GL journal entry as a closing stock for the month. Repeat this step every month to get the month-end stock closing value report and put through as a GL journal for the closing stock value. Enter the particulars. Next, enter the closing stock for P&L and the value. Make sure that it must be the same. Select the type as credit and click Save. Exit from the journal and return back to profit and loss. The closing stock journal is now appearing in the profit and loss statement for the month of February 2014. After recording the closing stock value, enter the opening stock for the new month 1st March. Enter the header notes, opening stock for March 2014. and enter the journal date 1st March 2014. At chart of accounts, enter opening stock and select the account's opening stock and enter the value. It must be the exact amount of the closing stock. Next, select closing stock in the balance sheet and enter the same amount. Select credit to zeroize the accounts. Enter the particulars. Click Save. Click OK. Yes. Return back to the reports again and look at profit and loss monthly comparison. Select the financial period 1 and click OK. Notice that the closing stock in the month of February is now the opening stock in the month of March. If you are preparing the second month, that is the March accounts, repeat the steps again to enter the closing stock as at 31st March 2014. Enter the journal date 31st March. Take note that it must be the last day of the month. Select closing stock balance sheet and based on the closing stock value, enter the closing stock amount. Next, select closing stock for P&L. Enter the amount. And select credit. Click Save. Click OK. Exit. Return back to the profit and loss monthly comparison again. Select period 1. A new closing stock figure will be appearing in the month of March. The closing stock as at March will become the opening stock in the month of April. Exit from the profit and loss and go to balance sheet. Select March 2014 and click OK. The closing stock value will be reflected as a current asset in the balance sheet as shown here. Next, at Enquiry, select GL Enquiry, and we are going to take a look at the closing stock in the balance sheet accounts. Select the date from 1st January and click Retrieve. Notice that 28th of February is being reversed out in the 1st of March. And 31st March will have a new record and will be reversed out in a separate journal entry on the 1st of April. For opening stock account, the monthly opening balance on March and April are reflected here. Even though the balance is cumulative, when we go back to the profit and loss monthly comparison report, the system will pick up the figure on the individual month as shown here. And at the end of the 12 months total, the system will not pick up the opening stock because this is a new company setup with no opening stock in the first month of January. And the company's business starts operating only in the month of February. That is why the opening stock is blank. You have successfully learned how to put through a GL journal for the closing stock on the last day of the month and reverse it out to the opening stock on the first day of the new month.